Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to TED Talks Ball, doing a kind of a first ever, well, maybe not the first time, but rare open mic show. I just learned, yesterday that my usual weekly co-host, Aaron Labigan, 49ers First Takes, has stepped away from Twitter and YouTube. And so I didn't want to plug anybody else into this spot right away. I just thought that I would come on solo and then see also if anybody I know wanted to join me. If you've been on with me before, if I know you, then feel free to pop in. I'll post the link. And like I said, people can feel free to join. Just thought we'd talk a little bit about the latest things going on. When I made the show this morning, I saw a thing where Steve Kerr had defended Kyle. He basically said, Kyle has the unfortunate distinction of playing in the Patrick Mahomes era, and Patrick Mahomes is obviously not easy to beat. Very few teams have done it. Brady was able to do it, but that was only when Mahomes was missing his left tackle, center, and right tackle in Super Bowl 55. So, but then obviously the big news today is the Steve Wilks firing. So I'd love to get people's thoughts on that. I can't say I'm super surprised. But I said yesterday when I was on with Ryan that I didn't think he necessarily deserved it, but I could see it happening because Kyle likes to have somebody to blame when we lose, whether it's Jimmy G or Jaquiski Tart or whoever it is, or the fans do too. So it looks like Bryant Culp is in the house. So let me go ahead and bring him up here. And Bryant, I think this is our first time. This is our first time ever going one-on-one. You've been on one time?
No, we did a show a couple of months ago. We
Okay.
streamed on your show. You were a little bit under the weather, I think.
There
Um,
you go. Well,
but yeah,
welcome back.
thanks for dropping the link. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. If I know you, if you're a known quantity, then I'm happy to bring people up. People I haven't worked with, maybe a little more leery about popping on with a live show. But I'd love to get your thoughts on the. I think the Steve Wilks thing is more pertinent right now than the whole Steve Kerr backing Kyle. But I think they're all kind of interrelated in the same way too.
So have you gotten it? Well, before we get too far into it, have you gotten an opportunity to? Did you hear what happened with Kansas City's parade?
I did. I did hear about it. Really unfortunate mass shooting. I saw one person dead, 9 injured. Um, Terrible tragedy, and something that I think we're all, unfortunately, just get used to in this country because it just happens again and again and again. And seems like gun laws need to change, but certain people dispute that. I don't want to get into politics, but
Yeah, I just want to
regardless,
send
it's a
prayers.
tragedy. Anytime people die, it's a tragedy, especially at a celebration, something that's supposed to be a
Yeah,
happy event. And apparently they were young. I don't know. Somebody was saying there were 9, 10 children, or maybe he just meant they weren't real old. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know all the details. I just wanted, to send prayers to the families and anyone who, got wounded and needs it. It makes you really think, like if the parade would have happened out here, how many people, if it would have happened, if the same thing, the outcome could have been different or even worse. There was a big conspiracy about the 2019 Super Bowl, us losing to the Chiefs, and then how people tried to make it out to be like, oh, it was actually okay because they would have had the parade in San Francisco, all these people would have got sick from COVID. Well, I still want a parade. I still want a parade. I just don't want it nobody to get hurt. But you can't stop people from getting hurt. You can't stop weird diseases and stuff. It's part of life. But as far as the Super Bowl, I'm pretty proud of how the Niners played overall. There was just a couple of bad decisions that now we're standing at the end of the game and we're looking at it like, why did you do that? Why'd you stop running the ball in the third quarter? And if you were going to run the ball, well, if you weren't going to run the ball, why didn't you disguise it a little bit more? Like Purdy's back there, obviously in shotgun formation. He's going to be throwing the ball. There is no disguise at all. So, those things, I'm going to be like, okay. But as far as the news today, I guess we now need a new defensive coordinator. So I'm not for somebody, being fired, but if he was the reason that the defense wasn't gelling together or whatever, only the people in the locker room really know. But it seemed like they were winning in the beginning of the season, and then something dramatically happened, and then he needed to come down to the booth, and he wasn't happy about that. And next thing you know, the corners, the safeties, they seemed to like him, but the defensive line didn't like him. So I don't know. Maybe it's just best for him to go somewhere else. Seems like that's what he usually does. Is he's with the team for a couple of years and then he leaves. So, Ted, if I could tell you, if I had an opportunity, I'd go after like Bill Belichick or Pete Carroll or I mean, I don't think we need to just replace our defensive coordinator with somebody who's brand new. I think we need somebody who knows how to control the game. And if that means bringing in somebody who was a head coach, I know Wilkes was a head coach, but it seems like they don't let him operate. And maybe bringing in somebody else like Pete Carroll or a Belichick, they would feel more comfortable because of their track record. So that's what I'm thinking.
You know who I like is Mike Vrabel. I think he would be great if he would take a DC role. I don't know. He seems like a good head coach. I doubt he would have to take that step back, but that would be my pick of who's available if he was available. I guess Kenny 49er Cult says, "Who's the nerdy guy on the right?" Just give me a little grief, Brian.
Oh boy, I'm gonna have to talk to that guy. I tell you what,
now,
I don't.
What's your relation to Kenny? He's your cousin?
Kenny and me are good friends. We've been friends long enough to consider each other family. And yeah, I mean, if you look at him, you look at me. If you squint, we kind of look alike. But it's funny. He says nerdy guy with glasses. He's usually got glasses on too. So,
people in glass houses should not throw stones about glasses.
That's right. Yeah, and he's got a lot of good thoughts and stuff like that on the game. And I'll let him throw them in the chat and stuff. But yeah, I don't think the defense did so bad. I think it was just we didn't stop them on fourth down, and I think we would have stopped them on fourth down in the overtime. That the game would have been over. But
well, speak of the devil, and he appears. The Boulder Culp is in the blue room. Should we let him up?
That's all up to you. That's all up to you. I'm down.
All right, if you vouch for him, I'll bring him up. Here we go. Hey, what's up, Kenny? Nice to meet you.
How are you?
Good.
Hey, you know what? Speak of the devil, and he shall appear.
That's right.
Just like Payne said. Hey, what a BS rigged Super Bowl.
That's what my wife said. She told me all along it was rigged. That
women are smart.
The NFL wanted to make the Swifties happy. And so at the end, she was
well, what do you guys think? We have football that we know people aren't really watching as much as they used to 20 years ago. And young men are not as interested in organized sports as they used to be, from what I understand, from numbers that I see. And women are becoming more than half of the population. And if the NFL wants to survive, I believe that you need to spread your reach and try and attract different people. So that makes sense to me. That's just a business decision, an easy one.
I mean, they're not playing all these games internationally for no reason. That's to spread the reach there too. So
yeah, we got to make football our soccer and kind of like spread it to the world, because I know there are European kids who want to play football. I guarantee you.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it in my article. I said, Taylor Swift's brought in lots of fans and revenue. I think the last figure I saw was 331 million. And how far will Roger Goodell be willing to go to make them happy? I don't know that I would, I don't know. Unless you're on the inside, you're on the outside. So it's hard to say. I will say that the refs weren't as bad as 2019. They missed some calls on them, but they also missed some calls on us. so it wasn't so crazy bad. But
I think you're right. The refs were not a big factor this Super Bowl. That's for sure. I mean, I can go all out on the rig stuff, but if you just want to say it was bad luck, it could have also been bad luck. I don't know if you remember, Braden Willis had to come in there for a while, and he got a penalty right away. That doesn't help us. He's a guy who should have been red-shirted as well. We had another guy out there that was red-shirted technically, but he had to be out there because of other problems, which was Luter. And special teams are Achilles' heel since I can't remember when. It just hits off that you can't script that. I don't think you can script that. You know, I'm not a crazy person. I am conspiratorial or whatever word it would be, but I'm not crazy.
No, it's not paranoia if it's true, is what I always say. So, no, yeah, special teams were terrible against the Packers. They had that 80-yard return. Obviously all the missed field goals, blocked field goals, etc. And other big kick returns. There was a lot. We got gashed for big kick returns, considering that. I would say Moody can kick it out, but I think he was told not to sometimes. With as big a leg as he has, he could kick it out automatically every time.
Everyone kind of made mistakes, everybody kind of made mistakes. You're talking about CMC, which no one wants to talk about, and I get it, but the man fumbled. He did the same thing in the Cleveland game, and that really killed us. It was almost the same game as when we played Cleveland. We had Trent Debo get problems with injuries. We had Moody miss kicks. We had Brock not shining the way he usually does. The O-line wasn't great. It was kind of the same Cleveland formula or blueprint.
CMC lost another one against the Cowboys too. Just you don't think about it because it was 42-10.
That's why you don't think about it.
But it was early in the game, same way down by. We were driving nicely and he coughed it up. Somebody stripped him. This was more of a punch out. That was more of like a tug of war on the way to the ground. Just real quick, let me say I had a Jason Captor Niner Massey sent hello for Faithful. That's hello Faithful and Samoan. Make sure you check out his channel, everyone. Make sure everybody checks out Bryant Culp's channel here. Let's see Paul Hope, obviously in the house. He's all over the chat. Everybody make sure you check out Farmers Faithful UK. They just hit 1,000 subs. Huge milestone.
Congratulations.
Many of us are striving for, so congratulations on that. And then, I'll be on Foreigners Faithful UK next Wednesday, noon Pacific, 8 Eastern. I got into a little bit of a rut lately of I had 5 weekly shows, a weekly show every day of the week. And then, I was doing a lot of behind enemy lines with opposing fan bases. And I have been bad about collaborating with Niners content creators outside of my little circle for a large portion of the season. So I'm getting back to that. So people will probably see little reminders from me hey, let's collab. It'd be fun to collab. I'd love to collab. That kind of stuff.
Hey, Ted, I'm really pumped to be on. This is awesome. I love your show, and this is an honor to be here right now and hanging out with my bub up there who, no, we're not related, but we're very good friends. We have the same last name, and we're close like butter and toast. So there'll be a lot of more Copes out there in 2024 for you to feast your eyes on.
Beards and glasses. I love it. I normally have a beard, but at least during the week, I shave about once a week. And so most of my shows, I have some kind of growth. But last night, tonight's Valentine's, but last night we celebrated Valentine's because we were kind of like F you to Valentine's Day prefix menus and prices. And we went to the same restaurant I was looking at for tonight. It would have been $500 with tip by the time you got tip included.
That fancy pre-fee, right?
Yeah, we saved several $100s, got more food and a pizza to go last night. I was like, yeah, that is, and got to choose the food with a prefix. You're eating what's on the menu. That's it.
Yeah.
And this one restaurant has this killer lasagna bolognese, and that was like a mushroom lasagna. I'm like, I'm sure it would have been really good, but not 100% sure. Anyway, but bottom line is, we've tried to job the system. I guess some places now, though, are doing like their Valentine's menu all week to keep people from doing what we did. Just like
right, they're getting smart.
They are getting smart, crafty, maybe even.
Yeah.
Jason says Spags is a Shanny killer. Vrabel is a Mahomes killer. Does a good job versus Mahomes. Well, there you go.
Could try anything, I suppose.
Spags is a Shanny killer, and so is that DC from the Browns. I'm blanking on his name, but he was also
Schwartz.
with Jim Schwartz. He was with the Lions before. Got in kind of a fight with Harbaugh after one game. They almost went to fisticuffs. Because Harbaugh kind of like smacked him in the back of the head or something. It was pretty disrespectful.
What do you think the real issue is with Kyle Shanahan and like the Super Bowl? Because I got to say it's him getting away from the run, and I can't tell you if it's sure or not, but it almost seemed like CMC got hurt early in the game, and he kind of saved him. But then when he did use him at the end of the game, he seemed like he was CMC, like Superman out there. So I can't justify it or answer it really, because you could have used somebody in the backfield like Mitchell or somebody. And when Mitchell did come in, he was healthy. He looked good. So what do we have to do to get Shanahan to just run the ball the whole game?
Maybe stop questioning his genius status like some people do, because I think it doesn't take a genius to say hand the ball off to CMC, but it does take a genius to kind of create a pass play that's equally as effective. And so, I mean, I think that's really what it comes to, because it happened. Now, I don't count the Atlanta Super Bowl against them the way a lot of people do, at least not 100%, because I always say head coach gets the glory, head coach gets the blame. That was Dan Quinn. It was Dan Quinn's defense that gave up the 25-point lead. But yeah, Kyle should have run it more as an offensive coordinator for Dan Quinn. And he should have run it more when Raheem Mostert and Debo were tearing up the Chiefs in Super Bowl 54. And absolutely should have given it to CMC on both 3rd and 4s, and probably get you down to 4th and short where you can sneak or hand it to CMC again. So yeah, no, I don't have any argument there.
Well, don't forget that Mike is a choker as well. I know he got 2 Super Bowls, but do you remember 2008 where they had the best team? I think they had the best team in history, and they were just murdering teams. And then halfway through the season, they collapsed. So Kyle has seen his dad choke. Maybe he's reliving the, a pattern that he saw with his dad that he keeps reliving, where he's choking and choking and choking.
Yeah.
Sins of the father, as they say. Or maybe not exactly, but.
And obviously, I think part of it too is like last offseason, I was saying a lot of, Andy Reid was Kyle before Kyle passed on Mahomes. And so then once Andy got Mahomes, he started winning Super Bowls. I think Kyle, Brock could be Kyle's Mahomes. I mean, he's clearly not Mahomes, but he could be good enough, especially with the salary, for us to win one or two. I think
it's just a little upsetting because like we've seen it in Super Bowl in the history. You don't have to be the best team to win the Super Bowl. You don't. And like the Patriots, they had that perfect season and then they lose, in the Super Bowl. And there's been other times, the Rams maybe, there's been so many different Super Bowls where it's been a really juggernaut team and they go up and they're flat in the Super Bowl. And now we're on that side of being flat. And that's why I say you don't have to be a great team. You don't have to be the best team or have the best players, but you have to be a special team. You have to have a good special team. And you guys know I like kickers and stuff, but it seems like we haven't really cared about special teams since like, is it safe to say 2010, 2011, since the muff punt back then? It's just, I think until they really just home in and the fundamentals, like for Ray to be calling out the ball got hit and not jump on the ball. No, instead he wants to try to pick up the ball and run. You're not going to get very far at all. Just save the down. And then for the guys again to come out and at the end and say that they didn't know what the Super Bowl overtime rules were. I don't think that's them communicating with each other enough.
And listen, Ray is no rookie. This is a man whose specialty is special teams. And
well, he's got a pretty He's got a pretty nice rap career too. You know, if you haven't heard any of his music, you know,
Oh no, I haven't.
He's special there too.
Oh no.
But the worst part with Ray is he came out and he said, you know, like, I defend myself. I'm a playmaker and I was going to make a play. It's like, no, dude, you're in traffic on a muff punt. You dive on it and stop the bleeding.
Especially in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like Kyle saying he wouldn't, change anything different, or his fundamentals are sound or whatever. And another thing that Kyle does wrong, a lot of people will try and absolve Kyle because the offensive line isn't very good. And that's what made Brock look bad and made our weapons highly ineffective, because Brock didn't have time to get him the ball, or when he did, it got batted a lot. But that's on Kyle too. Kyle needs to invest in offensive line. How many of us thought we were going to take a left tackle for sure? But a tackle, right tackle, more likely actually last year. I mean, I did a show with Joe Valerio on the assumption that we would take a right tackle and maybe even a tight end. We didn't. Tight end who can block and catch. Not as well as Kittle, but in that vein, just because Warner can only block and Dwelly can only catch, essentially.
Didn't we take Cameron drop with you? I mean, drop with you?
Oh, you're right. We did. We took two tight ends. Jeez, what am I talking about? And Brady Willis. But I meant, that
was our first three picks, right? Kicker, tight end, corner,
that's right.
kicker.
I've totally spaced on Latu. But Latu can't catch. He could block and he can run good routes. But I mean, basically, I think that injury was faked just to redshirt him and hide him. What a huge mistake we made. Maybe he'll be better this camp, but I wouldn't hold your breath.
I used to think we were going to take an offensive lineman until I realized that we're just going to take a defensive end every year in the first round if we have a first round pick. It's just what's going to happen.
Yeah, and we still need one across.
And we're going to do it again, I think. Yeah.
What's your guys' thoughts on Armstead? Is he coming back? Because it sounds like he's had a serious injury and he's not getting younger.
Well, meniscus, I think it's, my sense is there's two kinds of meniscus injuries. There's a minor one where they shave it down and you're back relatively quickly within a few weeks. Or there's a major one where there's a big hunk dangling off and they suture it back on and it takes months to heal. That's what Raheem Mostert had while he was out almost the entire 2021 season. Or was it 2022? 2022 season, excuse me, that we started in Detroit. That was 2021. That was when we first got Trey Lance. So ultimately, I think Eric Armstead's is the minor kind, because I don't think you can play with the big hunk dangling off. So I think it's the minor kind. I don't think it's going to be a huge issue, honestly.
It's a big risk is what it is, though, because it's like taking out an expensive classic car, knowing that it may start and drive for a few hours, but if you stop in the park and try and start it again, you're going to need a tow. And do we really want that for next year? Can we maybe interest him in retiring?
Well, speaking of toes, what's the toe connected to? I know that's not what you meant. You meant
the toe truck.
Yeah, but what does the toe connect to? It's connected to a foot, and Eric Armstead has plantar fasciitis in his foot. That's a much bigger concern for me, because that's the thing that it's always going to keep coming back. You just don't know when, but that's pretty much chronic. I've never heard of that going away.
I actually have plantar. I wear orthotics. If I don't, I'm in excruciating pain. And don't think that plantar didn't cause the toe thing and other things and aches in his knee and aches in his hip and aches in his back, because it starts to spread like
compensate for it. Yeah, exactly. Sugar Not in the house. He was griefing you a little bit. Kenny is saying we got Aaron Rodgers on the show.
I'm actually vaccinated, so
there you go. And that's a light actually there behind him. So if it was dark in a cave, then it might be Aaron Rodgers. But
that's true.
I don't think you're on ayahuasca either.
There's a hostage situation going on behind me, is all.
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, we got somebody else popping in. We got Shardul Gupta in the house. Let's bring him up in just a sec here. I was just going to read.
That's a SG, right?
Sports Talk. SG. Shardul Gupta, SG Sports Talk. Yeah. Why do players need to know the OT rules? They don't call the plays. They need to know when to celebrate. That's why, sugar not.
But not only that, Ted, here's the thing. Do you know how many Super Bowls have gone into overtime?
One.
That's right. And guess who it was?
It was the Falcons with Kyle Shanahan.
That's right. A little story building,
Patsies.
right?
Yeah.
Building a little story here.
Yeah.
You know? So
all right,
it's funny because here he is making a mistake, and he's the only guy who's ever been in OT before. What in the heck?
I know, it's crazy.
Hmm.
Here's Shardall. Welcome, Shardall.
Hey Chad, it's nice coming on. You know,
Yeah,
I love all your content. I love your YouTube channel. You make some great videos on here. Great to get some great hosts coming on here talking Niners football.
Thanks. Yeah, we got Bryant Culp and Kenny 49ers Culp. Not
hey,
related.
Brian, I haven't seen you in a while. How have you been? I haven't seen you in a while.
Doing good.
How's everything going with you, with the family?
Doing good. We've been around. Yeah, just have to find.
Hey Ted, how have you been? I mean, is this loss still sinking in? Are you still have you forgotten about it? Or are you still kind of thinking that this hurts a little bit?
I'll never forget, but I was saying, just sadly, I'm kind of used to it already. I'm just like, yeah. I said before the season, I pulled the quote and I retweeted it.
Brian, I think this loss definitely hurts because we definitely had a chance of winning this game, right? In the end, there were 3 seconds left, and it was an overtime. We had a chance of winning the ball game. We gave it away to the Chiefs. I mean, I know, the Chiefs, Mahomes is a good quarterback, so I mean, you got to give him a lot of credit, playing a really great game.
Honestly, I don't think this one hurts as bad as I think this one feels better than 2019 or 2012.
No, but the touchdown in overtime kind of was heartbreaking because I keep looking back at that clip, that touchdown pass from Mahomes to Hardman, and I keep looking back at that and it gives me nightmares because we had a chance, the Niners messed up multiple times. They had so many chances of winning this game and we didn't capitalize. I mean, that's what this team needs to focus on.
That wasn't even the worst play, or even the worst play, in that quarter or anything. It was us giving up Patrick Mahomes 20-yard rushes. He did that twice. He had 2 big 4th and 1 plays where he just broke it down and just he put the team on his back. If the Niners would have stopped him, or how about the play in the beginning of the game where the Chiefs really didn't do anything, and then our corner just kind of stopped running, and then Patrick Mahomes just lasered the ball into his other wide receiver right there, and then they got the ball up real quick.
Are you talking about Gibson, where Gibson stopped our safety?
Yeah,
that's terrible.
I mean, if he would have just kept running, the ball might have hit him, or the ball might not have been thrown.
I mean, as a Niners fan, I'm always going to root on this team, whether they win or lose. That's what my motto is, right? I mean, even if we lose, I'm still going to be faithful. I'm still going to support this team as much as I can. That's what fans are, right? Even if they're going through the tough times, ups and downs, right? We still support our team. In the end, we're Niner fans, right? In the end, right? We got to support our team. We got to stand up for all Niner fans, right?
Well, you stand up for you stand up for yourself, and other people, they want to stop being a fan, or they can't handle it, then they got to leave, right? But for 49er fans should be proud of how their team played. The team played really well. We played a great game. We shut Mahomes down, except for just a couple of plays. He only had the ball for 2 minutes left in the overtime, and we almost got it done. You could say the Swifty effect is real. But for the Niners did a great job. I'm more happy with this game and the outcome of this game than seeing them score, in 2017 or 2019, and then the celebration in the end zone. I know they had a celebration here, but that's when it seemed like it really just turned really sour for us the last Super Bowl. And then the one before that, where the lights went down, that's not something that we want to put our heads up and say, yeah, we're proud of that. People said we rigged it. They found a dead squirrel in the electrical panel. They said somebody from the Niners put it there. No, but this game, the only outcome that I would have different is us winning the game. Sitting on the couch the whole time, on our edge of our seats, the game going, and being competitive. That's what the NFL wanted. They wanted a really tight, close game that everybody was going to watch from the start to the end. And that's what we got. We just didn't get the outcome.
Butts in seats.
25 million.
when I heard about Steve Wilkes getting fired by Kyle Shanahan, was that do you think that was a wrong move for Kyle Shanahan to fire him after the Niners lost the Super Bowl? I mean, like he took us all the way here, so I don't think it made a point for him to fire him, right? Because he took us all the way to this point, right? We made all this success all the way to the Super Bowl, and we ended up losing it by 3 points to the Chiefs. So I mean, he did a really good job for this franchise.
Well, Shardall, the thing is, I mean, I erred on the side of sort of saying, that if Kyle fired him as probably like a scapegoat type of situation and that he had done a pretty good job. But, what we don't know is how much Kyle was involved in that, because I know or what we do know is that Kyle did step in a few times during the Super Bowl and be like, no, this is wrong. We're got to do this on defense. So some of what Steve Wilkes gets credit for doing well in the Super Bowl was things where Kyle overrode him, and it was Kyle Shanahan essentially stepping in.
I mean, when you look at Steve Wilkes, man,
DC.
when you look at Steve Wilkes, you have to give him credit for what he's done for this team, right? You have to give him immense amount of credit. He's done
What
a
did
lot
he
of great
do?
things for this team. I mean, like I really like what he's done, and
What did he
him
do?
getting fired, me as a Niner fan, kind of hits me hard because I'm like, you guys are like just firing this team after we lost the Super Bowl. Like, you're not looking at all the good things he's done. You're just thinking that we lost and we fire him, and that's the end result.
What did Steve Wilkes do?
No, but he led us all the way to the Super Bowl. That's what he did. He
No,
took
he
us all the way
didn't.
to this point. He
No, he
took
didn't.
us.
Our team was a veteran defense. Kyle Shanahan called a timeout to change the play in the Super Bowl because Steve Wilkes wasn't calling the right plays.
And Steve Wilkes, here's the thing, Shardall. One thing Steve Wilkes did a lot of, he always would default to the sort of quasi-prevent defense where our corners were way back off the ball, and any patient quarterback could just pick us apart underneath for 5, 6, 7 yards at a time. And eventually, in most games, he would tighten it up, but not before he put us in jeopardy of losing the game when we could have just been tightened up from the get-go. So in general, I was more in favor of keeping him than not. But like I said, we don't know everything that went on behind closed doors. Bringing him down from the booth was obviously a bad sign. I was like, hey, get down here before we get rid of you type of thing. So there were some hints during the season of Kyle's
as
disposal.
a 49er fan, I mean, now we're in a tough position because we have to find somebody to replace Steve Wilkes. I don't know who we're going to find out to replace him, right? There's so many great candidates out there that can replace him, but who do you think's going to replace him?
There's a list of people that would jump at this job. And right now they're looking at Belichick, Pete Carroll, Vrabel. There are so many people that they're looking at right now. They probably already know who they're going to hire before they fired Wilkes. That's how upset they were at Wilkes. And how hot this position is.
I'm hoping for Vrabel personally.
I mean, this 49ers and Chiefs Super Bowl was very competitive on both sides. Each team played really hard. The Chiefs played super hard. The Niners played hard. They tried to make it an even played game. But you got to look at the Chiefs. They outplayed us in the end, right? With that Patrick Mahomes to Mecole Hardman Jr. touchdown in overtime, which practically ended the game at that point. And everybody, I could see all the Niner fans dejected. They were walking out from the stadium in Allegiant.
Yeah, it was brutal for sure, and not totally unexpected. When you give
were you expecting that the Chiefs would make this type of comeback where they're?
I said it all along. I said they're not going for a field goal here, folks. I was at a big party. I said they're going for a touchdown to put this thing away.
And this is what I don't like about the 49ers, that they can't hold on to big lead. This is the thing that this team needs to focus on. They need to focus on that when they have a solid lead in a game, they have to make sure that they maintain that lead and not let it melt away, because that's what happened right now. They let the lead melt away. They were leading the game, right? 22-19. And then at that point, Niners had the lead, and then Chiefs came, and that touchdown basically sealed the game. So that was basically end of our Niners season.
Yeah, it's a bummer for sure. And hopefully it'll get Kyle to invest in offense.
Hey, Brian, do you think that Niners are going to do next year's Super Bowl? Do you think they're going to learn from what happened in this year's Super Bowl and focus on Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans next year and see if they can come up with a dub? because I think Niners can come with the win. They just need to focus on all the things that didn't go really well this year, and try and move that to next year.
Yeah, I think if the Niners play anybody other than the Kansas City Chiefs at this point, the Niners will win. And it's not because the Niners can't beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I think we'll beat them next year in the regular season. I think when it comes down to the Super Bowl right now,
Hey,
there's
Ted,
just too much.
I have to hop off, but it was great coming on, and I hope we can turn this season around, and hopefully the Niners can get a win next year's Super Bowl. But have a great one, Ted. Have a great one, Brian. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me on the show. I really
Thanks,
love
Rudolph.
talking Niner football with all you on the panel. But I hope you carry on with the show.
All right, take it easy, buddy.
See
you. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that we are favored to win Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. I was saying that it's really more, it's not so much of like how strong the 49ers are, even though we are strong. It's how weak the NFC is, and conversely, how strong the AFC is, so that it's much harder to pick who will be there from the AFC. And you can't like win the Super Bowl if you don't get there, right? So, there's let's see here. We got Kenny's back in the house. Do you have some technical issues there, Kenny?
Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
Hey, no worries.
Can you see me okay?
Yeah. Well, not your face, but that's
Hold
maybe
on.
not a bad thing.
Oh,
Hey,
I got a little that dim lighting that the ladies like.
Yes.
That dim lighting.
The ladies' man. Boom. Interesting. Sugarnaut was saying our defense was a paper tiger this year. Yeah, I mean, we had some issues on defense. I mean, now we know that Eric Armstead had the meniscus from the Philly game onward. He also had that plantar fasciitis. Hargrave had the thumb. Who knows how long that goes back? I don't think that's been disclosed when he injured his thumb. But if it's like a UCL type thing in the thumb, that can just linger all season if you keep re-injuring it while you're playing. And then, we obviously lost some really good defenders. Jimmy Ward, we lost Azeez Al-Shire, we lost Emmanuel Mosley. And so like Ambry Thomas, well, Isaiah Oliver was terrible. Let's be honest. Hopefully Randy Daytona doesn't hear me say this, but because he loves him some Isaiah Oliver, but Isaiah Oliver is terrible. And, we brought in Ambry to kind of kick Lenore over to play nickel for Isaiah Oliver, but Ambry wasn't a ton better than Isaiah Oliver, but he was better.
Not sure it would have made a difference yesterday whether it was Oliver or Ambry anyway.
Yeah, but then losing Hufanga was big. Jair Brown really stepped in nicely at first, but then he kind of started to look like a rookie before getting injured late in the season.
Well, Ted, Brian and I were talking about the Mahomes interception. Did you watch it?
The Mahomes interception to Jair Brown? Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he threw it to 3 Niners. He
overthrew Kelsey, basically, it looked like.
He could have thrown that away. He could have thrown it down into the ground. He could have run it for 10 yards if you look close enough. Why does he throw it directly into 3 Niners? Because it's scripted.
It just doesn't make any sense that the only time that the 49ers really had any issues with the Chiefs was on 4th and 1.
Let me ask you this.
What happened? It was a bootleg. Like it was a quarterback scramble. It was like watching Russell Wilson back there or something like that. It's like I thought we were able to stop mobile quarterbacks. Not today.
We never have been.
He saved that little incredible.
With Jalen Hurts, we did because we mush rushed, and Bosa was really good about mush rushing in the Super Bowl. God bless him. Chase Young did well in the Super Bowl. I was happy with him. Let me ask you this, Kenny, since you were so on that play, and I honestly haven't even rewatched the Super Bowl yet. I may not. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. But was Dre Greenlaw in the game at
that point?
Yeah.
When he threw the interception to Jair?
Yeah.
That I don't know. No,
I don't think so.
He was already out. So. Because I was going to say, I know Mahomes didn't scramble at all when Dre Greenlaw was in the game.
Okay.
And just
I wouldn't want to get hit by Dre. So.
And once Dre was out, they just picked on Oren Burks mercilessly.
Well, that was a huge factor that everybody seems to also have just conveniently forgot, Well, and they had their injuries too. So we won't get sympathy from KC fans, but
Yeah. Kittle got injured, Debo got injured, Jair Brown got injured.
That's how we always lose.
That TD at the end, it was against Logan Ryan. I'm like, I'm not
a guy we signed a few weeks ago.
I said, is anybody surprised that it was Logan Ryan who got beat by McCall Hardman and not me? I'm not.
I just wasn't happy with how long he was in the game, or like how comfortable they were. Like, oh, he's a veteran, just leave him in. It's like, no, like, guys, he's getting. I don't know, but I think also, like you said, Feliciano going down. I think that was a huge factor because
that's another thing that a lot of people don't even know happened, Brian.
Yeah, Feliciano going down. Then we had to put, what was it?
Burford back in, and then
Burford.
And then it's our most important defense. It's our most important play of the game, and we let Lawrence Taylor walk up the middle. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And
well,
then if you
the last Chris Jones and Snead are both free agents now, so we could sign them both theoretically.
I mean, we should. They sign all our former players. They still have Richie James doing fair catches. He'll be doing that for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Calling
we did get Mooney Ward from them.
He worked out.
He's been really good. Much better than J.C. Jackson, who everybody wanted.
Well, do we add Jones then?
Who was the one that everybody wanted from the Patriots? It was J.C. Jackson, right?
Yeah, but at the time he was slightly better, but he was older and more expensive.
Went to the Chargers. Yeah, he was like $3 million more a year. And he just fell right on his face when he got to the Chargers.
And got injured right away.
Yeah.
Maybe we lucked out.
Let's see here.
Mooney was a great player for us this year.
Yeah, we got Daniel Berry Sports. Yeah, I mean, he had the most passes defended of anyone in the NFL he had like 23, and the next highest was like 16 or 17, I think. Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. He's a Rams fan, but he's a creator as well. So check out his channel. He's pretty cool. Sugar Not saying above that he's an old head. I don't know where that was, but he said Burks was so good when he replaced Greenlaw in the Eagles game. He knocked Hurts out of the game for a while. Yeah, I mean, Burks had some moments this season, but ultimately we missed Azeez Al-Shire there at the strong side linebacker and the base package because Azeez went on to be a starter for Tennessee. Starting through base and nickel downs for them. So
David and Ty and me were talking earlier, and I had thrown out, an idea of let's go get some linebackers in the draft. And Ty, Ty's very, very smart, and David as well. And they both said, no, we got not tight ends. We got
D. Winters.
We got linebackers. We got linebackers last year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, then why aren't we playing them? Because we're in love with redshirting everybody. I don't know. I mean, Ted, how many more people are we taking until they actually get to start? It's like, are we going to draft a whole team before they go on the field? I mean, like, if we draft a player, they should start. I mean, like, is Moody the only, the only person who's going to get to really start? Because
Bosa, they're the only two rookies I think that ever started like with his approval. The other ones had to be hurt, had to have injuries before them to get them into the game.
We had a lineman too, I think. Was it Aaron Banks who got the start too? I'm not sure, but
he was a second rounder though, who didn't give up more than one sack his senior year. Oh yeah,
well, he was second. No, he was second. You're right. He was second.
He only gave up
like
one
49.
sack his senior year. He was ready to go. So he was just hurt, right? We lost him because he was hurt.
I just want them to draft players that are going to play that season, not like 2 years from now and we forget about him and we're like, oh, yeah, we got this guy. He's supposed to be really good. Like, no.
Well, that's because Kyle's system is so hard to learn, and I think that you waste a year there pretty much.
Yeah, Banks got hurt in our first preseason game of his rookie season against the Chiefs. And then he missed all of camp and preseason and everything. And then he was trying to fight his way back to be a starter, but he never really did his rookie season. So he was a big surprise that he turned out well his second year. Says you can't fall in love with their draft picks. Kyle holds them down. Jalen Graham is the other one. Part of it too is that Oren Burks is a great special teamer. So as good as he is at a playing linebacker, he's also probably our best special teamer after George Odom, our backup safety, who also saw time in the game too. I remember when he came into the game, I was like, if I was a Chief, I'd just start picking on him. But
hey, what do you guys think of man, I lost my train of thought. Oh, Robert Beal Jr. Is he going to play next year? Is he going to start? Are we going to pull a Drake Jackson with him, or are we going to re-sign Chase or get another DE like Bosa?
We will not re-sign Chase.
Yeah, I don't think so. Not at $15 million, because that's what he's potentially asking for, and I think we have like $34 million over the cap right now. I don't see us spending $15 million on him, and I think we have like 19 players right now, 21 potential free agents, and right now I don't see Chase Young coming back. But Bosa is definitely saying he'd like to have him back. So if Bosa's words are heard, I don't know how much of I think they'll bring him back if Bosa screams loud enough for him.
The sacks weren't.
You got to hear Bosa scream.
Yeah, I think we have more chance of seeing Kinlaw back than Chase Young.
Oh boy, I don't want Kinlaw back either.
See, that's another guy. It's like the classic car metaphor I made. We can get him, and he's a great player, and he worked out at the end of this year, and he started to come along, but one little injury, and now we're going to have this guy sitting on the bench all year.
Yeah, that knee is a huge concern because it had arthritis, and arthritis is progressive. It never gets better.
It doesn't get better.
And tendonitis, neither of those things get better. Just ask D Ford. I got a Scully says, in my opinion, still with Greenlaw, however, maintain that position. I mean, yeah, we definitely have to draft a linebacker high because, Dre Greenlaw is going to miss most of the season, most likely, if not all of it.
I'm pushing for him to retire.
Yeah. You think Greenlaw's going to retire? I doubt it.
Oh, no, I'm pushing for Armstead to retire. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, Armstead. I'd like to see him retire too. Not because
I'd like to see him go full on 24 hours a day supporting the Sacramento area. We could use him a lot more than football.
Well, $28 million cap hit would be nice to avoid for sure. Same thing with Debo.
Am I right? When you have like plantar fasciitis, your foot starts to do that like claw thing. Am I right?
I think that's
no, that's something else. Yeah,
I think that's the other one with the French name.
It's when you flatten your foot. It's because you have flat feet, right? So you need an arch support to lift the middle of your foot, or else your foot splits too much and starts to tear and pull and on everything. Like it's not enough. Like your rubber band isn't flexible enough. Pretty much something like that. And then when your foot goes flat, it really hurts. And then it hurts your toes, and it hurts your ankle, and it hurts your knee, and it hurts your hip. And soon your back hurts and your neck hurts, and it just it gets worse and worse. But as long as you wear the shoes, you should be okay. So that's why I don't know what's really going on with the plantar stuff. Maybe he's just too big. He's just a large man, and no orthotic can really, help him. Perhaps that could be it.
Do they have orthotic cleats?
No,
you know what they do? Most players have specifically made shoes specifically for them because feet are funny. And we all used to have flat feet when we were cavemen. But now, after years of trying to fit in these tiny shoes with that squeeze your toes together and things like that, it's screwed up our feet. We've screwed up our own feet as evolution has passed.
I think the twisted foot that you were talking about is called Lis Frank.
Okay.
When the bones all get improperly aligned. It's basically a type of a sprained foot, essentially. And sometimes bones break even too at the same time.
It sounds horrible.
Tommy Huxley in the house. He says Steve Wilkes Booth wasn't a fit.
Steve Wilkes Booth. Tommy the Hux.
Tommy Huxley. Welcome. Agar says I must still more clear. Simply the left corner from 49. Okay, against 1-9er. I'm not sure if I got that, but
I think they were just doing these they were blitzing safeties and stuff, and we just weren't ready. Our line is just not there. We were barely keeping it together with one great lineman. I don't know how we do it every year.
Well, yeah. When we were losing to the Lions, I said, maybe let's look at Kyle to invest in O-line. And so I'm still saying it. I hope so.
You'd think Purdy getting almost killed by Reddick would be what made him get O-line, but no.
No, we had plenty of similar situations this
year. We're
good.
We drafted plenty of O-linemen last year.
Including the Packers game. A guy came unblocked off the right edge and creamed Purdy. It was just lucky it wasn't a injury or turnover or worse.
Well, I don't remember if it was the Miami game or the Tampa game. I don't know if you guys remember, but Purdy almost got murdered by somebody, like right off the bat. McKivitz let somebody go right by him, and Purdy
Talking
just
about Steelers game.
I don't remember which one it was. I think it was his first season, is what I mean. So Tampa or Miami, it was one of those games, and somebody came right up and just, I think it was the Tampa game, clobbered him right away. He got right back up because he's a champ, but McKivitz was standing there like a goon, and the guy just came in and clobbered him. I thought he got out. I was like, well, now we have no quarterbacks. That would have been zero quarterbacks.
Bucks, it probably would have been McGlinchey, right?
I'm positive it was McGlinchey.
Yeah. And then he wouldn't help him up either. That's McGlinchey's calling card. He doesn't help his QBs up off.
That's what I like about Feliciano. He runs 20 yards up the field and picks Purdy up, man.
Yeah.
I hope we resign him.
I don't like him talking on Twitter, though. Oh, my God. Like, talking
I think he's trying to go away from it.
These death threat stuff, like, geez, even if it's true, you just don't say it. Why would you say stuff like that? It's such a bad look.
Hate to get.
I mean, I know stuff gets nasty. What people say to each other to get them to react and to get these penalties and stuff. It's just like most of the public doesn't need to hear that. I don't think it's
a lot of people get upset and they can't really handle those emotions, and they don't know how to let them out right. And the nastiest stuff comes out when you're at your worst, and it's just bad pattern.
Not good. Not good. Tommy says, O-line is garbage. Chris Jones unblocked twice, and several others too. I think also it was McDuffie came unblocked on that one where like, oh, don't take a sack. Well, we took a batted ball that was almost as bad as a sack, just no lost yardage.
Brian and I actually talked about it. What really scared us was the coaching battles. Wilkes versus Reed and Kyle versus Spags. I mean, that's where the game is, that's below the trenches where the game is won. That's where the game is really won in the coaching room. So,
and I thought, Tooney being out at left guard, the all-pro left guard for the Chiefs with Allegretti in there, I thought that would be an advantage. And I thought, Charles Omenihu being out on their edge would hurt them. It seemed like
we had the best chance we ever had.
They do a good job of next man up. Niners are top heavy. We're kind of like the way the Rams were right before the Rams won the Super Bowl, where one or two key injuries and we're hosed because we got nobody to fill in for these guys. That's what I said before the season. I mean, I just retweeted it today, where I said basically I said it on September 11th or after the home opener. So we can win the Super Bowl with Brock, but everything's got to be pretty close to perfect. And, things were pretty close to perfect, at least to start the Super Bowl. We didn't know about Armstead, obviously. We didn't know about Hargrave. But, until Dre went down and Feliciano went down and everybody else got injured. Put it this way, you guys. What do you think that, about all these injuries we had? Chiefs barely had any injuries. I mentioned Allegretti. Apparently he tore his UCL fairly early in the game and played the whole game with a torn UCL. More power to him for doing that. But I think that was pretty much the Chiefs' only injury. Like, do you think our shoddy practice facilities contributed to injuries because our guys maybe weren't able to practice at full speed on a crappy field? People say, oh, well, it's only a couple lower body injuries. I'm like, if you're not practicing at full speed, that affects your upper body too, if you're not getting the full impact and the full, I don't know. I felt like it did. I felt like it had an effect on it. And
I almost think that the 49er players went into this game preparing for a certain way, but everybody else, from Jed York to Kyle Shanahan, they're either told that they're not winning this game because they didn't seem like they had the same urgency, or they seemed, I don't know, it just didn't seem like they had the same. Jed York's already talking about, praising Brock Purdy and saying how great of a quarterback he is, and he hasn't even won the Super Bowl. And you got three people arguing saying that, they all knew Brock Purdy was the guy, and they're making up stories. When Kyle Shanahan went to the press conference and was pretty keyed, we can say it like that. I'm not saying that's the worst thing in the world, but for him to do that and already have been to 2 Super Bowls and not get it done, you would think he would take this one a little bit more, serious, or you would hope that he would take it more serious, or maybe
not get drunk at the presser.
Right? I just think it was a bad look from the beginning, and, everything, oh, we're not worried about the practice field. Oh, we are. We're not going to make it a big deal. Like, don't say anything about it. Don't say anything about it. And then everything to come back and say the overtime rules and just you were in overtime just a couple years ago. I mean, like right before you were our coach, what, 8 years ago? You were in. I don't know. I'm just really blown away. I think the Niners team did really well. I think you can't blame this loss on Purdy. I really don't think you can blame this loss on really anybody except Kyle. Because at this point, I mean, Kyle coached a good game. I really think he did. But at a certain point, you got to be the guy. You got to be the guy that gets them over it. And I don't know. I mean, we got him for 6-7 more years. I don't want to see Kyle go anywhere, but it seems like he has definitely turned himself into Andy Reid from the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know how he's going to transform.
McNider's looking out for you. He says Valentine's Day, just reminding my homie so he doesn't get in trouble.
Oh, I know. He texted me here a little while ago. I'm like, oh boy.
He also said we have 36 million carryover from this season. I think we have about 41 or 42 in debt. So I think we're about 6 mil in the hole for 2024, which is totally doable as far as just a few restructures and or cuts or trades. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but should be no problem to wiggle around that. I think there's plenty of, I mean, I would imagine that Debo's contract is ripe to be restructured.
Oh yeah, most definitely. It deserves to
And
be
Brandon
restructured.
Ayuk's making 14 or 15 mil, and most of that could be, basically $1 million vet minimum and, 1/5 of a 5-year signing bonus. So you're talking maybe like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 mil. You could cut that in half essentially. Maybe less. 6, 7, 8 was what I was thinking for Bosa with his huge contract. Ayuk would probably be more like 5, 6, 7 mil. Not 5, 6 or 7, maybe 8. Yeah.
Ayuk is coming back because that was Brock's main guy. I think right now Ayuk is holding all the cards.
Oh yeah, he's just negotiating. Debo did a lot more than he did. That's what people tend to forget. I just wish he didn't do it on like Tuesday after the Super Bowl.
Don't be a man, dude. Don't go over there in your little like.
It was a little early
sweater,
to be starting all the theatrics.
Look like a crybaby teddy bear, man. Don't give me that whiny shit. Next year comes and we'll play again. Don't be in the locker room with your head down, crying, having your brother text shit. I don't like that, man.
Yeah, I definitely don't agree with that at all. Like, it's your job. Why is your brother speaking about it?
You want more targets? Get open.
Your brother's worried about your wallet. Like, sure, I get it. He's a family member, but let your brother talk. Like, not. I mean,
he may not have
be the only
approved it
one
either.
talking, right?
Sometimes family members do stuff without their.
Well, Brian believes that he had his brother do it for him.
I do.
Okay.
I do. I do.
Which isn't a bad take.
This way he can be the guy like, it wasn't me, it was my brother. Shame on my brother, like
mouthpiece.
You get it out there. I'm not happy. But why would you want to go to Oakland? What's in Oakland? Oh wait, the Raiders aren't there. The Raiders aren't there. They're in Las Vegas. So why would you want to go play for the Raiders? They have no quarterback. They have no coach. They have no draft capital. They have nothing. But they have to play against Patrick Mahomes until he retires. Why would anyone want to go to the AFC West?
And here's what's funny. A team just went to Vegas, right? And they're not going to win for a while. At least it doesn't seem like they are. So what do? They have a killer record-breaking Super Bowl event in Las Vegas for the first, it's just like, it's so TV. I have some experience with television writing, producers, talent agents, and stuff like that. And I'll tell you right now, it's just all too close to what happens on television. People love to see the same things over and over again. Anything new and original really turns people off because they don't know how to react to it, and they don't watch it, and the show fails. So that's why we're still watching The Honeymooners. Ted, you remember The Honeymooners?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we're still watching them. It's called
Jackie Gleason.
It's called King of Queens. It's the same show. It's the same show that they've been doing. The shows never change. They're all the same. You had Cheers. You had Taxi, and then you had Cheers, and then you had Seinfeld. And if you just watch those shows, they are exactly the same shows. They have the
No.
Seinfeld
is one of one. I'm sorry.
Well, it is.
I watched all
the characters.
Seinfeld was
the characters in Taxi.
Kerr, man, it's they're their own animal.
Ted, think about the characters in Taxi. First of all, you have a woman named Elaine. And then you have Alex, who's Judd Hirsch, who's a Jewish guy who solves everybody's problems and everybody comes to him to talk to. And then you have Jim and Andy Kaufman in there as Kramer. And then you have Danny DeVito. And who does he remind you of, Ted? Is it George Costanza?
I guess a little.
I'm not knocking TV or anything. I'm just saying that's what people love. They love the same shit over and over again. They just don't want to know they're seeing the same shit over and over again. So they regurgitate it in a different package. And that's just how, I mean, I'm just that guy. That's how I feel. But
I can see those parallels.
I would never
think that the content was very different in Seinfeld.
Oh, absolutely.
There was definitely no soup Nazi in Taxi. So
Star Wars,
Kenny Rogers chicken. Like,
no soup Nazis.
Stop short. Stop short.
You can't beat Seinfeld.
Ass Man.
The number one show. Seinfeld is unmatched.
All-time classic. I feel sorry for people who missed it, honestly.
Yeah.
It took me a while to get into Curb, but I finally got it. When I finally got it, it was like, God, Larry, he's just so whiny. He was so funny.
Well, Larry is George Costanza.
Yeah, but I was like, Seinfeld I thought was so funny. It was so well done. And Curb, I was like, oh, he's just so whiny and complain. All he does is complain all the time. Then I just figured it out. That came to me. I had the epiphany. I'm like, oh my God, he's just saying what we're all thinking all the time, and our filter keeps us from freaking saying it. And he says it. You get to see what happens if you open your mouth and act like an ass. You like get kicked out of your friend's dinner party like every time you go.
Yeah, that way he doesn't have to be there. Yeah, he knows.
So that's when it all started to make sense for me. And now I love Curb. It's great.
My favorite Curb episode, I don't know if you remember, Ted, was when he started wearing the MAGA hat so people would leave him the F alone.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good one. My favorite was the one where he started the Spite Shop. He started.
That's right, a coffee shop just to.
Yeah. There was what was it called? Cup of Joe? No.
I don't know what it was called, but I remember that he went out of his way to like find some crazy unknown coffee from Brazil or something to like rival the guy. It was amazing.
Yeah, well, he was mad at the guy and because he got kicked out, so he started a Spite Shop next door to compete with him.
They fought over a scone.
And he like was mad that they didn't have hand sanitizer, so he had hand sanitizer on every table. He was mad that the furniture kept moving around, so he bolted all the furniture down. Yeah. And then, like, because people would steal the hand sanitizers or whatever, he had to have like a whole storage room full of them. But it was like a double thread in the show. There was the Spite Shop, and then like he's going to get his coffee, and here comes the fire truck with the sirens, and he shows up he lets him go by, and he shows up to get his coffee, and they're the firemen all drinking coffee. Like, it's like, oh, you guys aren't going to a fire. Like, and all of a sudden one night he's going along. Here comes the fire truck behind him. And he's like going back and forth, not let him by.
Not them fast.
And they show up and they're at his Spite Shop. It's on fire. And they're like, oh my God, this guy, whoever this idiot was, like couldn't have made it harder on us as firefighters because he had accelerant on every table and all the tables and chairs were bolted down so we couldn't get our hoses through. And the back, the whole storage room was full of hand sanitizer, more accelerant. And they said, we might have been able to save it, except for some guy was like, wouldn't let us get by on the way over here. And he's like, oh man,
in his Prius.
Yeah, in his Prius, exactly. That was such a classic one.
Good
all-time favorite. It was what was it? Larry's Lattes. That's what his was called.
That's it.
And I don't remember what the other guy's name was. The original store that he was spiting. Yeah. So if anybody can remember, let us know. See here, how are we doing? Oh, good on time. All right. Edgar saying therefore and talking about good things in the game. Shanny Garage and intelligent does not. Yep. Purdy. I'm not blaming Purdy at all.
Yeah, Casey really thought that Purdy was great. They thought he was really good. And they had to adjust multiple times to him.
We did lose Anthony Lynn to the Commanders. They're taking a lot of people from us, but mostly it was Adam Peters. Now Adam Peters is rating other people. I don't think Anthony Lynn is that big of a loss, honestly.
Well, people are saying that our coaches are jumping ship. I don't believe that. I think that people want the best, and that's what Kyle usually has. It
is crazy, though, that none of the Chiefs guys get poached. Like, why is that?
Well, they don't want to leave, I guess.
I guess. I don't know.
Because, your Super Bowls count. When you're a coach and you change teams, that they count that for coaches.
Yeah. Steve-O has the
Oh
hots for
yeah,
Leah
man,
Remini.
Steve-O, Leah Remini, that's my perfect girl. I need someone to like beat me up, or I'm gonna go run rampant all over and make a fool out of myself.
Did you see Kevin and Evans?
It's funny that Steve-O says that because that's exactly like what's his name's wife in The Honeymooners. I mean, without her, he's a mess.
There you go.
That's still the whole thing.
Joe Stevens in the house. He's a content creator. Check out his channel. He's also a Seahawks fan. It's funny, they're all coming out now. They've been kind of missing since, not Joe. Joe's been around, but man, a lot of people on the timeline, especially that old hag who had me blocked forever from Thanksgiving till the Super Bowl. And then she's like accusing people of blocking her. I'm like, what are you talking about? You like had me blocked ever since Thanksgiving.
Well, you know what? We're not used to that because we always get to see our team in the playoffs, but most people's teams are done in week 10, 12, 11, and they're done for the year.
They were done. They didn't make the sweep talks, didn't make the playoffs. That's for sure. But welcome, Joe. You're one of the cool ones for sure. Best Curb is the dude from Silent Live. Igor has 3 brothers and the vase.
Oh yeah,
and the
Hater.
Yeah.
John Hader, something like the John Hader. I forgot his name. Bill Hader. That's it.
I like the shortcut to the valley was another good one. There's so many good ones. Curb is great. Once you understand like what to look for, then it's great. Who the hell wants Matt Nagy? That's true. But I'm thinking about Spags now. Is the only D coordinator to have 4 rings.
Wow.
So, and he's done it with some less than stellar.
Like Schottenheimer and Dick Vermeil, those guys have a ton for Kansas City. A lot of success, but not Super Bowls.
Right. Exactly.
KC has always been very good. I just don't think people really notice that. Because they're never all the way at the end all the time. And they hadn't won a Super Bowl for 50 years. I mean, guys, statistics are statistics. Like if you haven't hit a ball in 100 swings, you're probably going to hit one at 101. So, these things happen. And we had our run, and people hated us for it. We now we know what it's like to be on the other side. So now we're the Bills.
I was going to say the Buffalo 49ers.
It was rough seeing them, too, because they had a great team with Thurman Thomas, and they had Andre Reed, and they had Jim Kelly, and they had a really, they had so many good players in their time, too, the Bills. It's got to be rough, especially when you're from Buffalo. I mean, Jesus, what else do you have when you're from Buffalo? Give me a Super Bowl at least.
Yeah, Steven,
we're not the Buffalo Bills yet of the 90s because you got to look at it like our Super Bowls have been apart from each other. They weren't all consecutively. I mean, if anything, maybe we're more like the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know, but I don't even want to go there.
There's any shame.
We're going to be the 49ers. We got 5 Super Bowls. And we're going to keep saying that until they can't take them away from us.
I love watching football deep into January. I mean, a Super Bowl would be nice, but I still like watching my team play 20 games, and I invest $0. That makes me very happy. So,
no doubt about it. Steve says bring Shermanator home. I mean, not as our DC, but maybe as like a DB coach.
Yeah, DB coach would be sick.
Yeah.
I would love Belichick. I don't know if it's just me, but I would really love Belichick to come here and just be the DC. But other people say he's washed and done.
I kind of feel like he is. He's getting old.
There you go. See?
I mean, I kind of feel like also a lot of it was Brady.
It was. Hey, I don't know. I just talked about this with Brian too. Only George Seifert and Joe Gibbs have won Super Bowls with different quarterbacks. Now that just makes me think Joe Gibbs is the greatest quarterback in the world. He's won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks. Yeah. If you ask me, that's the ultimate elite head coach, in my opinion.
Well, and that's the other element of Kyle's system. Like people say West Coast, but the other element in Mike's and Kyle's system is Joe Gibbs' style, and that you can see why they,
see that?
Didn't really emphasize quarterbacks because he didn't. So
football's beautiful.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I only want to see Belichick and Grant in a presser. That would be pretty funny. I mean, another knock against Belichick too is look at his coaching tree. No branches, man. No branches.
His coaches are garbage.
Yeah, so I don't know. Hey, as a DC, I'd say sure, but I think they ran a 3-4 anyway. And
which doesn't stop many runs.
We need to find a 4-3 guy. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Well, look at Fangio. We were dying to have him, and they X'd his ass out real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's because
we didn't take him because of the 3-4, like you said. But still, I mean, here's a guy who was very good at defense, and they just dropped his ass like a bad habit over there.
Well, part of it is because Kyle said to him, like, hey, yeah, you got to run a 4-3, and you got to keep it similar to what we've been running with D'Amico and Sala. And I think Fangio said, no, I'm going to run it my way.
Do you guys think that's why Fangio failed in Miami?
I think Fangio didn't have the horses in Miami. They have no
personnel.
They don't have a really good D line. They have Christian Wilkinson, but aside from him, they don't really have really good edges. They don't have really good linebackers. They have really good corners, but Xavier Howard and Ramsey were hurt most of the season.
Which is too bad because I think they had the two best cornerbacks in football before they.
Yeah, Javon Holland's a really good safety, but you can't do everything by yourself. So I'd say he didn't have the horses there, but they let him go, didn't they? He's been let go by Miami, right?
Yeah,
he's also getting old. He might be a little bit stuck in his ways. That's what
he's going to Philadelphia, I think.
That's right. Yeah, Fangio and I forgot their OC too. Nobody good, that's for sure. Bill Belichick was special teams coordinator for Joe Gibbs. I want all the head coaches that have a ring. Maybe.
Wow, look at that. That doesn't hurt. Bill Belichick knowing special teams doesn't hurt either, huh?
I know, but who's to say that he's willing to take a DC job when
it's a lot less money and more work.
Yeah, he just came from being a head coach and GM at the Patriots. Like
the only reason I would think maybe is because he's 70 years old. And what the hell is he going to do?
He's going to be gunning for head coach or GM role. But yeah, maybe he understands that
he could be the head coach.
No one's going to sign up long term at this advanced stage.
He could probably have his choice of college team, no?
Yeah.
You know who would sign him? If he came to the Niners for 1 year, ran it for DC coordinator, right? Niners go on and win the Super Bowl. Even if they don't, but you know who would sign him to a very short term coaching? The Raiders. The Raiders will do it. They'll do it because that's where their dynasty kind of failed. Tom Brady's part owner of the franchise right now. I can see it happening.
Not too far fetched.
Brings it full circle.
Yeah.
And then the Raiders win the Super Bowl with Bill Belichick, and he retires. Greatest head coach ever.
Well, I think they like Antonio Pierce, though. I think they like who they got.
They like him until the middle of the season. And then
Max Crosby said he would leave if they didn't hire Antonio Pierce, didn't he?
They'll have to trade him because they still have value in him right now. So look for that happening soon.
All right. Interesting.
I don't know, guys. I don't think he's out yet. The guy doesn't seem like he's finished. Neither does Pete Carroll.
Steve says he won't be coaching this year anyway. Why not, DC? I don't know. I guess we'll see.
That's what I think. I think just the fact that he's 70, and if I was 70, I'm telling you, I'd probably be bored to death, and this would take up my time mightily. I would obsess with the defense and just go nuts. I'd have nothing else to do. That's just me. I'm not saying everyone at 70 has nothing else to do. I'm just saying that's what I would do.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at Bobby Turner. He's still doing it. He's still coaching even after cancer, right? So, I mean, some people, they got the passion for it. I think Bill maybe he's made too many enemies throughout the league, and there was no friendly hiring, vacancies for him to go into. But honestly, I think Atlanta whiffed on him. Or the Redskins, they should have picked him up. Those two teams should have picked him up. But I don't know.
Interesting. Well, I think I'd rather have Raheem Morris personally in Atlanta. And who's the head coach now for the Commanders?
Oh, geez. Did he come from the Titans? Can't think of it right now, but I know he's a younger guy too. Maybe he came from the Chargers. I can't remember, but he's a younger guy too.
Joe says Bill needs to go back and coach Navy. I think he'd have a blast.
Hmm.
Hadn't heard that as an option. But
Joe, what's happening with Carroll? Is he staying as a consultant? Is he gonna? What's going on with him, Joe? You know?
They don't want him. They don't want him as a consultant.
They don't want him at all. Would we think of him?
That I would hope. I'd hope we would. You know, especially if we were considering maybe bringing in Sherman. That would be really neat.
Oh, that's right. The Commanders hired Dan Quinn.
Isn't Carroll DC and special teams too?
I don't have a lot of faith in Dan Quinn as a DC, let alone an HC.
Oh no.
Yeah, there we go. We're getting some help from the audience. Thanks, everybody. You guys got anything going on this week that you want to promote?
Oof. We're like a pop-up taco truck. We have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah, just keep your notifications on. Usually, if we do anything, it'll be like late night Thursdays. I think that's our best opening right now.
Pretty much.
You'll start seeing Kenny probably more on the Friday night shows with us. Me and David McDiner. We'll try to wake him up early enough to get on a Saturday or Sunday show. But yeah, that's about it. That's about all we got right now.
We're gonna be doing a show called Good Culp, Bad Culp in 2024 when the season starts, and we're just gonna try and argue everything with each other so that we're not just repeating the same things to each other that we like this and that. So we're going to purposely try and argue with each other to try and keep it interesting.
It'll definitely be interesting. It definitely will be interesting.
I love it. Well, I got my usual Mike from the Man Cave Faithful Dog show tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern. Got Anshul Shah from 49ers Media on Friday at 1. And then I'm not sure about Bashar for a ball with Bash and Ted. We've been hit or miss the last few weeks. I have a doctor's visit with my son at 3, but maybe we'll go live at 4 if that works for Bash. We'll see. Haven't heard back from him. I get the feeling like maybe we'll just take a break for a little bit here for the off season.
A grieving week or a grieving month or so?
Well, yeah, because of Laura Cat and those two were real close, and obviously now there's the Super Bowl, and a lot of people are going through a lot, and then I mean, there's so much Corey Davis, obviously. Let's not forget him. Rest in peace to Corey and Laura Cat.
The Niners community is definitely taking a hit this season. We lost some good ones, and then also the Super Bowl didn't make a lot of people feel good. So there's been people who's left YouTube and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and I've seen one guy down the street. I think he was a 49er fan. He was moving out, so I don't know where he's going, but
brutal. Well, I'm sticking with the team, but I definitely have lowered expectations until proven otherwise.
Lowered expectations.
Shout out Mad TV. If you know, you know.
I'm just figuring Kyle's a Super Bowl choker until proven otherwise.
That's
so
classic.
Maybe if we draft a tackle with that first round draft pick, move up to draft a tackle.
Well, how about a CB and then 2 tackles?
Okay, or a tackle and a guard. I mean, we need both. But I mean, whatever makes sense for where we are, but we have enough picks that we could move up some too. So, I mean, we've been saying corner and offensive line for how many years now? At least 2-3 years. So, and I'm still saying tight end too, who can block and catch. I don't expect Kittle Jr., but damn, I don't expect a half tight end who can only block or who can only catch. That's just
that's so stupid.
It is. And middle linebacker. We got to draft a middle linebacker too. Unless D Winters or Jalen Graham are the man. But we don't. How can we know that now? I don't know. I guess we would know from practice. I don't know. I don't think you know. I think you still got to draft one and maybe trade one.
Robert Beal Jr. and Drake Jackson be on this team next year?
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean they're under contract, so I mean no one's going to trade for them. So.
Oh well, I meant, do you think they'll be on the starting 53 in the first week?
Oh yeah, Drake Jackson will be. Beal, roll those dice, baby. We'll see. I mean, I just haven't. Yeah, people said they thought he played well when he in his limited, starts, snaps this season. So.
Well, Kyle showed us, he drafts the year before for what he needs the next year.
Yeah.
So we may not be getting what we think in this draft.
I mean, Beal.
So wait, are you trying to say we're going to have a big Moody season next year?
I feel bad for Moody because he really had a good season for a rookie, and he nailed some pretty big, long kicks in big moments, I thought, for a rookie.
Yeah.
And I certainly don't blame the year, since we finished as a 1 seed anyway, or the Super Bowl on him or Brock, and they were the rookies. So this is deeper,
Yeah.
Yeah. Moody will be fine. Moody will be fine.
And cheap.
All right, folks. Well, thanks for coming on, Bryant Culp and Kenny 49er Culp. Appreciate you guys being here. And the Boulder Culp, sorry. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to our audience who came through. Steve was holding you accountable, BC. He says it was your kicker, brother.
It was, and that extra point didn't cost us the game. And if you think about it, if we would have made that extra point, then Kansas City would have went for a touchdown at the end, and then we would have been like, oh my gosh, and then we would have really had to go for it. So I don't think it was that bad. And then Butker almost had a kick miss too. He almost had fingertips. They almost got fingertips on it.
Yeah, it was so low.
I agree. His extra point wasn't really too much of a factor. I don't think in the final outcome, really.
No, I mean it's just one.
There was a lot of football to play, and the Chiefs weren't just going to stop scoring.
It was one of the 1,000 cuts in the death by 1,000 cuts.
Yes, it was.
That's right. Make your point.
We bled out slowly. We were pale and had blue lips by the fourth quarter. That's what happened.
Absolutely. No, it's a lot of fun, guys. Let's do it again soon. And I'm probably be doing these open mic things on Wednesdays until I find somebody who wants to fill the slot. So we'll see what happens. But I just didn't want to try and find somebody for this Wednesday since I just found out about Aaron. So Aaron, hope you feel better and come back soon. The spot's always yours if and when you want it. But till then, I'll be figuring out other ways to keep myself busy Wednesdays at 3:30.
Ron is AA gone.
There you go.
But we'll miss you, Aaron.
He'll be back.
Aaron
this is the third time away. Maybe three strikes and he's out. I don't know, but
the man has too nice of a setup in his basement there.
Yeah, he's definitely stepped away twice before and come back. So that gives me hope that eventually he will. And even during the season, he kind of intimated when I come back, not if. So I
love his little studio. I would love a studio like that.
It's nice, no doubt. Well, thanks everybody, and I'll just say peace and go Niners.